We're moving on to solving more systems of equations. And this time they're only going to contain two variables, but still there's going to be a little trick to them. We want you to start recognizing these shapes right away. So you're not just looking at a bunch of X's and Y's and going, oh my God, I so hate math. So we're going to do today systems of equations that are circles and parabolas. So we have to remember our formula for an equation. For the most part, this is the equation kids like, the center radius form. So the center radius form shows us that the h and the k, we take the opposite of them to find the center, and then the radius squared is the number at the end. Sometimes they're mean to us and put it in standard form. And all they did in standard form was simply square each binomial, the radius, and then write it out in decreasing order. A parabola. That's the standard form of a parabola. And then Common Core was very big on not having it in standard form, but having it in vertex form, where you see the vertex of h and k, and then some kind of stretching or shrinking of the parabola. And of course, the one that you've had since 7th grade, a line, y equals mx plus b. So yeah, you've got to know all of those simply, very quickly. You just got to look at an equation and go, oh, I see two things being squared. It must be a circle of some sort. Oh, I only see one thing being squared. It's got to be a parabola. Oh, I see nothing being squared. It's got to be a line. All right, so here's your first example. X squared plus y squared equals 1, y equals 2x plus 2. So now before we start solving this, I always want to give myself a graphical representation. I want to see what's going on. So the first thing, this is a circle. So in my mind, I am going to make sure that I have everything straight. So here's my little bubble. And in my mind, when I look at this, for this circle, I know the center is 0, 0, and I know the radius is 1 because I take the square root of that 1 right there. All right, so I'm going to come over here, and I've got a pre-made circle, and I'm just going to give myself a little visual. Here's my circle. Its center is 0, 0, and look, it's got a radius of 1. Little tiny cute thing. All right, so now what about my line? My line, when I look at it, I want to know the slope and the starting point. So for my line, I know my y-intercept is a positive 2, and my slope is a positive 2. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to take this line, I'm going to shrink it down, and I'm going to move it over to 1, 2. That's where it wants me to start. And then I'm just going to do the slope. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. All right, I'm going to go down the other way. Down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. That's more than enough. And it looks right here to intersect. Not sure how many times. I mean, I can make my lines thinner and get a better look at it. It looks like it's only going to touch once. So let's do the math behind it and figure out. So I'm going to get rid of all this. And I'm going to look at this. And remember, there's two ways to solve this. Substitution or adding and multiplying to cancel things out. Well, I see a substitution staring me right in the head. Anytime I see a y, I'm going to replace it with 2x plus 2. So I'm going to work with my first equation, x squared plus, there's a y. Instead, I'm going to put in 2x plus 2 squared equals 1. And here's what I've been chirping about for the past 2 weeks. Can you square this binomial quickly? If you can't, get a blue slip. So here we go. 2x squared is 4x squared. Square the last, 4, Multiply those together to get 4x, but I know I'm really going to have 2 of them, so it's 8x. Next thing I've been chirping at you. Anytime you see a squared, which I see right there, I'm going to have to set equal to 0. All right, so that means I'm going to combine and get 5. Whoops, I don't want that pen. I'm going to get 5x squared plus 8x. I'm going to have to bring that 1 over to be plus 3 equals 0. Now squared means factor. So 5x and x is the only way I'm going to get this 5x squared. Well, 3, I can get 3 only one way, a 1 and a 3. So I know the 1's going to go and the 3 are going to go as such. Because when I build my bridge, it's 5x. And when I build my tunnel, it's 3x. And a 5x and a 3x does indeed get me an 8x. And again, once again, if you can't factor that quickly, this class isn't going to get any easier. Plus plus equals 0. Now I'm going to set each factor equal to 0. I get x equals negative 3/5, and I get x equals negative 1. All right, so that's not your answer because this is a two-dimensional equation. Why is it two-dimensional? Because I have 2 variables. I have a y and an x. And right now all I've done is find the x. So now I've got to go back and find the y. All right, so that means I'm simply going to put in numbers that I got down below. And I'm going to choose to use this equation. It doesn't matter which one I use. That's the easier one. Okay, the y value is obtained by doubling the x value and adding 2. Y equals negative 2 plus 2, y equals 0. All right, so I'm going to write this over here. I think one of my answers is at the point negative 1, comma 0. All right, now I'm going to put negative 3/5 in there. Y is obtained by doubling the x value and adding 2. Okay, well, negative 6/5. I've kind of run out of room here, so let me clean this up for a minute. Go over here. Negative 6/5 plus 2. Well, I have to have a common denominator, so 2 as a common denominator is, whoops, 10 over 5. So they're telling me the other point is negative 3/5 and then 4/5. So if I were to do that, that looks like negative 1, 0 is an answer right there. And then if I go over negative 3/5 and up 4/5, that's another one. I'm going to come over here to Desmos, and I'm going to type in my equations. All right, I just got to get my keyboard up. X squared plus y squared should equal 1. There's my circle. Now here's my line. Y equals 2x plus 2. And if I take my points here and I do my intersection, there they are. There were 2 points where it intersected. Our rough-handed graph showed us 1, but again, Desmos, so much better than your graphing calculator. And the last example we're going to look at for today is obviously a parabola and a line. So once again, I'm going to get myself a quick picture of this line. Well, I know lines have to be y equals mx plus b. So real quick, this is y equals negative x minus 2. So that means my intercept is a negative 2, and my slope is a negative 1. So if I go quickly, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, I'm going off on a 45-degree angle, and then I'm also going up on a 45-degree angle. Awesome. All right, so then I have my parabola. And a parabola, easiest thing to do is find its turning point, which is 0, -4, and then find its roots. And this one is easy to find its roots because it's a difference of two perfect squares. So you should know it's x minus 2, x plus 2. So its roots are -2 and 2. And again, I just want a rough graph. So 0, -4. And then there, its roots are at 2 and -2. Well, almost at 2 there. So it looks like I better come up with two answers to this systems of equations when I solve it. It's looking like it's telling me that I've got an answer right here, and I've got an answer right about there. So let's find them perfectly. I have a systems of equations, so I'm going to use substitution or elimination. And substitution, once again, is staring me right in the face. I'm going to put that in every time I see a y. X plus x squared minus 4 equals -2. Oh, great. I have a squared. Every time I see a squared, I have to train my brain. I'm going to have to set equal to 0 and factor. So x squared plus x minus 4, bring that 2 over as a plus 2. X squared plus x minus 2 equals 0. Factor! It ain't going anywhere, people. That's x and x. It's a 2 and a 1 is the only way I'm going to get a 2. I need it to be a positive 1 in the middle, so that means the 2's got to carry the negative sign. And when I set equal to 0, boom, there are my x values. Well, my y values are obtained by taking my x value, squaring it, and then minusing 4. So for this one, my y value ended up being -3. So I think one of my answers is 1, -3. 1, 1, 2, hey, looks pretty good. For a rough drawn graph, I'm in the right area. Okay, so my x value now. My x value of -2 is going to yield me a y value of, drumroll please, y equals 4 minus 4, 0. So I think my other answer is -2, 0. And notice how, boys and girls, how I'm taking the time to write the answers as points? That's because this is a graph. I can always go to Desmos, and there I have it already typed in for Desmos. My line, my parabola, and indeed my points are -2, 0, and 1, -3.